Welcome back. We are on the next module called deliberate action, which means we've done A for awareness, B for balance, C for clarity, and we're getting into D. And D is all about taking your clarity, your long-term intentions, and living in alignment with those intentions. And let's face it, we face resistance often, right? When we're going into action mode. And so in this module, we're going to discover why that is and some great strategies for being more deliberate with our actions. So here with Sanjeev Sidhu. Sanjeev, tell us, why is it's so much easier to know what to do versus doing it?
I just know it is. I know exactly what needs to be done. I have difficulty doing it.
Yeah.
But as you know, we've been thinking a lot about this topic, and I'm really excited to share with others our learnings and some of the best techniques that we've learned from others, and we've been able to make improvements on that, particularly as we focus on this concept of how to be empowered. Because being empowered is very key to being able to take deliberate action. And deliberate action is very key to being empowered. They go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. That's the key D in our 5 muscles, the ABCD. So let's talk about it. And as we've discussed earlier, we have the monk in us, one that's looking for the long term. And we have the monkey that's more short-term oriented. The monkey wants to play, the monkey wants short-term gains and wants to avoid short-term pain. And the monk is looking for those long-term gains, and there's usually a battle between them, right? So the monk is the one that wants to go get the medical degree, and the monkey wants to go surf instead.
Right.
And we have many of those. The monk wants to eat healthier, the monkey wants the chocolate cake now. And the monk wants to sleep early to get healthier, and the monkey wants to stay up because there's so many things that the monkey doesn't want to miss out on.
So that's an obvious conflict, right? Exactly. In having the monkey and the monk. So how does the monk live in harmony with this pet monkey, so to speak?
Right. And harmony is really the key, because many times when people think about deliberate action, they think about how to make the monk in charge. And we're going to talk about a technique where the harmony builds, where the monk and the monkey really become friends. They understand each other's aspirations and constraints and actually help each other. That's really true empowerment, and that allows you to get more done, actually. And a little bit about that, because when the monk becomes very in charge, most people think then you'll take all those long-term actions. But many times the monk is destructive, because the monk doesn't understand the real constraints of the monkey, right? And the monk could, for example, say, I want to go run a marathon, when the monkey is really not prepared, the muscles aren't there, and you could do long-term damage. So it's a soft, gentle partnership between those that we're going to talk about.
Can you give us an example?
So, for example, instead of running the marathon, the monk needs to decide that the monkey cannot take the marathon right away and needs to start running 1 mile a day, and needs to make it fun for the monkey to be able to run that 1 mile a day instead of doing something else.
Because the monkey's going to say, I don't want to run this marathon.
Exactly.
And so the monk recognizes that and says, okay, well, let's just start with running for 20 minutes.
Right.
And the monkey says, okay, I'm not going to chirp up too much about that. I'm okay with a 20-minute run.
Right. The view that the monkey is lazy, I think, is a dangerous view. The monkey isn't lazy. It's not really used to or capable of doing certain things. It's a habitual creature, right? So you have to gently change its habits. So you have to make it cooperate with you, and that's the harmony between the monk and the monkey. And that's why the monk needs to understand the monkey. If the monk is off on its own holy grail of climbing the Himalayas when the monkey is not ready, that's not going to happen.
Great.
So how do we really do this? Maybe we can start by talking about an example that I'm picking for the day. And I want to work on this long-term project. And that's the new behavior that I want. I know exactly what needs to be done, but I procrastinate. So procrastination is my existing behavior, and my new behavior is working on the long-term project. So what I'd like for those of you who are listening, by the way, welcome back. And maybe you should think of a new behavior that you are interested in. And as you think of a new behavior, think about the opposite of that, the existing behavior that you want to get over and move to a new behavior. So you could say new behavior, for example, is not smoking. Existing behavior could be smoking. New behavior could be eating healthy. Existing behavior could be eating unhealthy or eating too much sugar. So make that contrast, pick one, and use it as we go through the techniques such that you can relate to the techniques. I'm going to be talking about one particular example, which is me wanting to work on a new behavior, which is working on my project. Old behavior being procrastination. Make sense? And anything comes to your mind?
Yeah, so
Andrew?
it's in a work capacity, it's the projects that are less fun or creative, and so a more operational thing that it needs to get done, right?
Yeah.
And it's not as fun though. So that's what comes to mind for me.
Great point. And so one of the things I want to start introducing as we start introducing the techniques is that we have this concept that one thing is more fun than the other. Some things are naturally more fun, particularly things that are evolutionarily beneficial to us, right? Eating is fun, resting is fun when we need to, entertainment is fun. But
The monkey loves all that.
the monkey loves all that, but there are other things that need to be done, like if you're working on making global change, organization is important. We were not designed to sit down and work for 8 hours on a desk, right? But if something needs to be done, I think there are techniques to make it more fun, or understand those beliefs that are keeping us from judging it as much less fun than it needs to be. So judgment is a trained choice, and one of the things we can do is look at the underlying beliefs like we did earlier, and we can reframe some of the beliefs such that we can start changing the underlying belief system, which starts increasing the value of what needs to be done, that organizational work, and reducing the pain. Because as an engine, we're always seeking gains and minimizing pain, right? And so there's a belief system that's determining how painful that is and what the gains from that activity are. So a lot of what we're going to talk about is how to start shifting that and taking control of it. And one of the ways you reduce the pain and increase the gain is the more you do it, the more it becomes a habit. And the more it becomes a habit, the pain actually reduces.
It's easier to do it.
It's easier to do it.
It's part of your routine.
Just like if you don't run 26 miles, it's going to be a pain. But if you run 26 miles and if you've been doing it once in a while, running a marathon, then it's not as painful.
Right.
So most things that are painful now need not be painful all the time, particularly if you start practicing.
Excellent. So that's a great one to start, right? Creating habits.
Right.
When you have the habits, easier to do than not to do. What are some other techniques?